Renna's Crossing by Geordie Morse. This is an audio version of the book as read by the author. Chapter 22 Words in the Darkness. The light of the neon sign outside crept into the room between the Venetian blinds, which didn't quite close all the way. It filled the room with a soft red glow, but didn't seem to disturb Job at all in the bed further away. It wasn't giving Renna any chance at sleep, however. The two of them were staying the rest of the night at a roadside motel, near where the truck Job borrowed from the rectory had sputtered to a stop, its needle on empty. They would have to wait till morning for gas stations to open up so they can make the trip home. Renna turned her pillow over for the 9th time and finally gave up, sitting up in bed and looking at the item in her hands that she had been holding tight for the last hour and a half. The pendant caught some of the neon's light, turning the silvery magpie into a robin. It was the only one with her now. Its mate was back in Caranarthex, where Renna had first received it from Morgana. Past memories or not, she liked this one better anyway. It had gathered the memories that she had first made. It had gathered the memories that she had made since first stepping outside of Inglenook, into the several weeks that had changed her life forever. Renna looked over at Job, who had nearly been asleep before their curly head hit the pillow. She suspected that they hadn't gotten a good night's sleep since she had left, and now their body was finally allowing them that necessary luxury. But sleep didn't come for her. She probably didn't deserve it anyway. She didn't deserve much in this world. She wanted to see Finny again, to talk with Father Chen and all the others in the rectory, to learn under Job again, and to know them as a friend, not just as a teacher. But those, too, were things she didn't deserve. She had spent the last 12 years in a state of blissful, undeserved ignorance, unknowing of her actions that had caused the deaths of so many innocent people. And the consequences hadn't ended. Renna's mistake was still out there, and soon it would return to continue its horrific labor. For so long, Renna had tried to slough off the heaviness that she felt, before she understood what it was. But now she would feel ashamed to not feel that weight. Fate had been trying to talk to her for so long, and only now could she comprehend its message. She was ready for it now. Renna opened the motel door a few inches, making sure the hinges didn't squeak. She was dressed, her bag packed again. A note, painfully short, was left on her abandoned pillow. She stood there for a moment, in the deep silence, listening to a world that was not on fire. Renna held out the magpie pendant and sought for the spell that lay within it. As Job had said, it was a one-time spell. No going back. Renna took a deep breath. No clouds in the sky, no ripples in the water, no wind in the air. As she exhaled, a peculiar breeze slipped through the room. It curled itself about, shuffling the Venetian blinds and fiddling with the tissues on the nightstand. It then left by the way it had come, out the door, across the street, and up into the canopy of woods beyond, parting the tips of the pine trees and allowing moonlight to slip through in its wake. Sirens sounded in the night, floating through the hot city air, all the way up to the 32nd floor of the high-rise. From up there, they sounded like the morose mating calls of some birds that couldn't find each other in the concrete jungle of Los Angeles. The sirens rarely invaded the sleep of the man inside the suite. He was used to them. They were part of his element. They had been his lullaby when he was young. His element was also strewn about him as he slept, in the form of empty cans, dirty clothes, half-eaten takeout meals, bottles with a few pills left in them. It had been too hot to fall asleep by himself, so he had to resort to something that would push him instead. His dreams were ordinary. recitals of slightly less boring moments in his otherwise relatively mundane life, except this time he was naked, or he was falling in slow motion, or Lionel Richie was there? He had just sat down in a club made entirely for his existence, in between women who adored only him, in front of his favorite vices, sitting at a table made of literal stacks of money. A bit ostentatious, but he wouldn't say no to a good old-fashioned indulgence dream. He was just about to start indulging when a voice spoke to him. "You know not who you are." That was silly. Of course he knew who he was. Was he having some sort of existential crisis? He hated when a perfectly good dream was spoiled by one of those. The voice came again. "Delude yourself no longer with mortal pettiness. Your destiny is far greater." If his destiny couldn't deliver everything he imagined he had right now, he wasn't interested. He spent a lot of time and money trying to keep such ideals out of his head. "Recognize thyself. Suffer no longer. Accept and reclaim what is yours." And just how was he supposed to do that? "Start with your name. Remember and say it." He knew his name. "You do not. You have forgotten." How would you know? I know because you know. I am we. We are all. It is time for us to continue with our destiny. Oh, of course. It made sense now. Say your name. How could he have forgotten? Say it. The life he knew wasn't real. This was real. He was truly awake now. Your name. His name. Simon Magus. Simon Magus awoke. He stretched and sat up in bed. The raging hangover he had been expecting was nowhere to be found. His mind was as clear as a bell. That toothache that had been bothering him for the last couple weeks was gone as well. Excellent. He stepped lightly out of bed and walked over to the window that opened out into the hot night. It was much nicer out here, with a hint of a breeze. He felt like enjoying it a bit more. Without a second thought, he climbed onto the windowsill and stretched out his foot, 300 feet over the street below. His other foot left the window, and he started forward into the air. What a beautiful night it was.